to part one of the techniques videos. Originally I wanted this to just be one video, but as I started recording it, the first video was like 60 minutes, and that seemed a little unrealistic. Even once I edited everything down, it got down to about 60 minutes for everything once it was edited. So I've split it up into different parts. Right now it's 5 parts, and as time goes on I'll continue to do more, but I just thought it'd be cool to kick it off with like 5 just sort of right off the bat. So the first one, I'm going to be going over brushes and basic equipment and sort of how I start the sketch of a thing. And then as the other videos go on, we're going to go over basically how I go from start to finish on a more simple colored piece. So for the first video, I hope you enjoy it. Hey everyone, and welcome to my techniques video. Now, I'm gonna have to record this over several different sessions, so you might see some of this setup change a little bit, and you might hear my voice change. For instance, my first day of recording this, I'm a little under the weather, but I'm gonna try and cover as many things as possible, and hopefully we will go through all of the things that people have been asking questions about that they normally can't see. So let's launch Procreate. So here's all the stuff that I've been working on recently. A lot of people have questions about what tools I'm using. For instance, whether or not I'm using a screen protector, which I'm not at all. I don't really like screen protectors in general. And a lot of people have asked about control when on the glass. I think just after years of using various Wacom tablets, I've gotten used to artificial feel of certain devices, so I don't actually use any of that. For my stylus, I use the Apple Pencil. I like this quite a bit. When I'm working traditionally, I usually just use sort of a standard number 2 pencil, and then I usually use a Bic ballpoint pen to ink. I know that's not the fanciest of equipment, but sometimes I like it just because I like the way a ballpoint pen feels over other things. So that's just sort of how I've always done it when I've selfishly done art for myself. So I don't use a grip on this at all. I don't feel the need to. I don't have a comfort problem really when I'm using this. Again, probably because of using Bic pens all the time, which obviously aren't comfortable. So I've just sort of gotten used to it. You can see I've even got, maybe you can see that I've even got some bite marks on here from my son when he tried to get a hold of it. So that's my equipment. Very fancy stuff, right? Now let's start just a new canvas. So I get a lot of questions about what size I work at. I work at a lot of different random sizes when I'm working in Procreate. When I'm working in Photoshop, it's a little bit more standardized, but since Procreate's always a little janky, although it's gotten a lot better, I generally work with this 12 by 8 or 8 by 12, either way that you want to do it. So let's do 12 by 8. I just find this to be a comfortable size overall. I know it's not standard in any way, but this is sort of a standard size that I like to work at. So where do we start with a general tips and tricks thing once we're actually into one of these files? I think one of the first things that everybody asks me questions on are my brushes. So when you look at my brushes, you'll see that for the most part, these are just the brushes that come with Photoshop, with Procreate. The difference, the main difference here, is you'll see that 1 or 2 of these will either say modified, like this shading graphite one says modified, this 6B pencil says modified, although I don't honestly use either of those that often. More importantly is the fat pencil, and then the one that I call fat, P-H-A-T, literally just to differentiate a little bit more easily for me. So the technical pencil, I've covered this in the Palma Smith Mayo video, but the technical pencil, when you put it all the way to max size, looks like that. So it's still a relatively thin pencil in the grand scheme of things. So if we go over into the fat pencil that I've referenced quite a bit in past videos, you'll see that the size limit has been raised. Let's go back to technical pencil. So here the size limit maximum is set to 4.8%. That means that at maximum size, with regards to pressure or speed or any of those things, that's the size it's going to be. If we go over to fat pencil, we go from 4.8 to 22.1. Now these percentages, I assume, are percentages of your core texture that you're using to build the brush. I actually haven't gotten that involved in brush building in Procreate, but that's what my assumption would be. Either way though, the thing that's important to notice here is that it went from 4.8 to 22.1, so it's much larger. So when we go back now, and I set this brush to maximum size, and I do a line, it looks like that, which is obviously a lot thicker. The reason that I do that is just so that I have a greater range of use when I'm trying to draw something. If I want to draw, let's hide this layer for a second. If I want to draw something and I want to get in and do something like that, and then I want it to be thicker, I don't necessarily want to have to build it up that way. I'd probably much rather just do something like that. So that's really it. I just wanted to get some more flexibility out of it. So those of you who've been asking about that, it's that basic. That's really all I ever have tweaked in Procreate for myself. I don't really have a need for anything more. And then last but not least this is really just for crude roughs, is my fat pencil, the PHAT pencil. This is set to 43.9. And so if we go back here and set it to maximum, whoops, I'm on a hidden layer. There we go. Set it to maximum, it's just thicker. That's all it is. And I really just do that so that I almost am always just using my fat pencil. And then very rarely I'll switch to the PHAT one if I want to just block in something really crudely. And so what I mean by that is I might use this fat pencil and I might just, do something really messy like that just to get the flow of something. Something along those lines. And then I will take it and I'll lower the opacity. And then I might switch to the fat pencil with a lower setting, and I might actually go in here then and figure out more what that face actually looks like with greater detail. And right now I'm doing it really fast just to illustrate the point, but I might do it with greater control and just really try to lock down what that face looks like. So that's the only purpose. Now, when I also mentioned that there were other brushes that are modified in that same way. Airbrush, if you go to Airbrush and you look at the soft brush, which is sort of the fuzziest, you could say, of all of the brushes that are in here. This one I have modified as well. I have the max size limit on it, and the reason I have that one set that way is because I want to be able to set it at its max size to try and simulate like gradients, basically. That way I can stay nice and broad and get something nice and soft, which honestly that could be softer. And then I can lower the opacity, whatever it is that I'm trying to do at the time. So that's it. As far as brush goes, brush settings and brushes and unique brushes, I don't actually use anything special there. So again, if you go through the Pumice Mit Mayo video, I outline this a little bit. And then here is just a slightly more in-depth breakdown of that.
And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. And if you're looking for me on the internet, these are the places where you could find me.